Romeo and Juliet. Once upon a time, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene, there were two feuding families, the Capulets and the Montagues. Tensions often boiled over, which led to family members fighting in the streets. The Prince of Verona decreed that the next person to disturb the peace would be sentenced to death. Later that evening, Benvolio found his cousin, Romeo Montague, lovesick over Rosalind. Benvolio and Mercutio, the prince's cousin and Romeo's best friend, suggested to Romeo that they should crash the Capulets' masquerade party that evening. Meanwhile, at the Capulets' household, Juliet's mother and her nurse were telling her that she will marry the Count Paris. Juliet was unsure if she wanted to marry him or not, but her nurse gushed, "A man, young lady, such a man, why, he's a man of wax." Juliet promised to keep an open mind. "I'll look to like, if looking liking move." Just then, the party was getting started. Juliet's nurse told her, "Go, girl, seek happy nights to happy days." And off Juliet went to the masquerade party. At the party, Romeo, Mercutio, and Benvolio snuck in. Romeo was unfortunately spotted immediately by Tybalt Capulet, who was furious that a Montague had come to their party uninvited. He called out, "Fetch me my rapier, boy!" But Mr. Montague stopped him. He would not allow there to be bloodshed in his party, in his house. Just then, Juliet and Romeo met and fell in love immediately. They quickly kissed. "You kiss by the book," Juliet said. Just then, the nurse broke them up and shooed Juliet away. Romeo asked the nurse, "Is she a Capulet?" And he was shocked to find out that the woman he fell so instantly in love with was the only child of his greatest enemy. Juliet asked the nurse who the young man she kissed was. "His name is Romeo and a Montague," the nurse informed Juliet. "My only love sprung from my only hate," Juliet lamented. After the party, Romeo ditched his friends and scaled the Capulets' wall. Just in that very moment, Juliet was coming out on her balcony. Romeo looked up and thought, "But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun." Juliet mused out loud, "Oh, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? Deny thy father and refuse thy name. Or if thou wilt not be but sworn my love, I will no longer be a Capulet." Romeo revealed himself, and the two spoke of wonderful plans to be together. Juliet promised to send her nurse to Romeo tomorrow. They kissed goodnight. The next morning, Romeo ran to the friar to convince him to marry Juliet and himself. Friar Lawrence was hesitant, but ultimately agreed, hoping it would end the horrible feud of the two families. Juliet's nurse found Romeo, and he told her of the plan and to let Juliet know. Juliet met Romeo at Friar Lawrence's quarters, and they were married. Meanwhile, on this hot day, Benvolio and Mercutio were hanging out in the square in Verona. Tybalt came upon them, still furious that Romeo had crashed the party at his uncle's house. "Mercutio, thou consorts with Romeo," Tybalt accused. Just then, Romeo ran up to see his friends, but Tybalt cut him off, and he said, "Romeo, the hate I bear thee can afford me no better term than this. Thou art a villain." Romeo tried to reason with Tybalt, who was now his cousin-in-law. "Villain am I none," Romeo pleaded. Mercutio, hot and frustrated, called out, "Tybalt, you rat catcher. Will you walk? Tybalt turned, answering the challenge. I am for you. And the two fought. Romeo attempted to break up the battle, but in doing so, Tybalt stabbed Mercutio. As Mercutio fell to the ground, he said, I am hurt. A plague on both your houses. And Mercutio died. Tybalt, who had fled, came running back, still furious with Romeo. Romeo was so angry that his best friend had died that Romeo fought Tybalt and killed him. Benvolio begged Romeo to flee. Stand not amazed. The prince will doom thee to death. Be gone, away. The prince came upon the scene, and Benvolio explained everything to the prince. The prince was devastated to see his loved one dead, and he decreed that Romeo would be banished, and if he returns to Verona, he will be put to death. Before Romeo left town to exile, he went to see Juliet, who was grieving her cousin Tybalt's passing. Despite all the drama, she still loved Romeo, and they had a wonderful evening together. She bid him adieu, and Romeo went off to exile. After Romeo left out the window, Juliet's parents informed her that she would be marrying Count Paris. She was furious, unable to tell her parents that she was already married and didn't want to marry the Count at all. Then Juliet went to go see the friar. She told the friar of her plight, and he gave her a potion that would make her appear as if she was dead. The night before her wedding, Juliet drank the potion. Here's drink. I drink to thee. And when she was found in the morning, her family believed she was dead, and they placed her in the family crypt. The friar's messenger to Romeo failed to reach him to let him know of the plan, and Romeo found out about Juliet's death, and he rushed back to Verona. On his way to see Juliet, he stopped at an apothecary and bought some poison. Paris had gone to the crypt to pay his respects to his would-be bride. He got there at the same time as Romeo, and the two fought. Romeo killed Paris, and then he continued on to where Juliet's seemingly lifeless body was laid. Romeo, devastated, drank the poison he had purchased. Here's to my love, and with a kiss, I die. Romeo kissed Juliet's lips and died. Juliet awoke and saw Romeo's lifeless body. She saw the vial of poison and said, Poison, I see, hath been his untimely end. I will kiss thy lips. She kissed his lips, hoping there would be poison upon them to help her die too, but she was not so lucky. She drew his dagger. Oh, happy dagger, she said, and she plunged it into her chest, dying as well. Both Romeo and Juliet's parents found out about their children's deaths. The friar explained everything, and the parents realized their feud had taken their loved ones from them. The prince said, never was there a tale of more woe than that of Juliet and her Romeo.